Sup peeps, my name is Ian. I sell books on eBay and on Vinted as well. This is Bundles of Books, so welcome to or welcome back to the channel, whichever one applies to you. Today is day 34 of selling books on eBay and Vinted. Been doing this for longer than 34 days, but just started this vlog even, on the 31st of December. That was day 0. I'm holding up a 1, but it was day 0. And we've continued since then, just trying to come out every single day and give people an idea of what you can actually do selling books online, eBay, Vinted, and whatever other platforms you may choose to use. Just eBay and Vinted for me at the moment. January was a very slow month. Hopefully we've got beyond that slump and things will begin to pick up a little bit. And yesterday they did. Yesterday was a better day, a Sunday. A couple of good sales and lots of small sales just to pad it and add it, and that's part of what this big bundle is over here. So we've got 5 orders in Vinted and 11 going out on eBay today. So we'll run through those, see what's sold, see what it's sold for, and then have another little look at which is performing better, eBay or Vinted. So we'll start with Vinted because it's actually not the smaller pile. It's usually the smaller pile, but we'll start with it anyway and we'll see what we can find. So I'll just go to my orders. Right, first we have by Natalie Haynes. Yes, Natalie Haynes, Stone Blind, single paperback, really good condition. And that sold for £1.88. So, a good start. We've got another single book, and that is Skandar. Is it Skandar? Yes, Skandar and the Unicorn Thief by A.F. Steadman. So, a really popular series at the moment. I think the 4th book has just recently come out, or is just coming out. So when I see them, I pick them up because they do sell quite quickly. That sold for £1.63. So £1.88 to £1.63, it's not an awful lot of money, but because that's Vinted, that's all what will come back to me. So from that, all I need to take out is my cost of goods and the cost of my packaging. The rest's paying for my time essentially. So cost of goods, I pay about 25p a book. Packaging is going to be, for those books, 10p each. So I've got 70p to come off of, what's the total there? £3 plus. It's about £2.50 coming back to me to cover my time for getting them, processing them, picking them, packing them, and taking them to the post office. Which doesn't sound like an awful lot, but you don't do that with individual books, you do that en masse. So it works out a lot more cost effective. Right, next we have a bundle of 3 on Vinted, and this sold for £5.88. So we've got a couple of Deborah Harkness and an E.L. James. So Discovery of Witches, Shadow of Night, and Freed. So all the 50 Shades books were rewritten from the perspective of Christian. So this one's 50 Shades Freed, as told by Christian. The 3 of those, did I say £5 something? £5.88. So again, it's not huge money, but that's going to cost me 75p. Most that has cost me is £1, and that's including my packaging. So that leaves me with £4 plus profit, nearly a £5 profit from the 3 books, which is suddenly, for the effort required, looking quite good when you add it onto the 2 that have already sold. Next, we have a bundle of 9. The bundles just keep getting bigger. And this went for £10.72. And it sold almost as soon as I listed them. So we've got 6 of Crows by Leah Bardugo. The Magicians by Lev Grossman. 2 lovely books. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 7 David Gemmell fantasy books, all in really good condition. Again, I just picked these up quite a couple of weeks ago. I've been swithering about how to list them, where to list them, and then yesterday I thought, oh, to heck with it, and I just stuck them all on Vinted to see what would happen, because I haven't put many of these types of books on Vinted yet, and they sold rather quickly. So 9 books for a tenner. Again, what's 9 times a quarter? £2.25 plus 20 pence, so about £7.50 back, thereabouts, from that bundle there. So the profits begin to add up. And obviously all of these things are already paid for, so that the cost of goods, the way I look at it, that's what I now have to go out and buy more, if that makes sense. And the final sale on Vinted was for £25.42, and that's for 17 books. So we'll try and run through them. A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. Vietnam by Max Hastings. Prophecy, S.J. Paris. Yes, I got the name right. Jill Hornby, The Hive, or is it Gill? I'd say Jill, because that's my sister's name. Faceless by Martina Cole. The Darkest Minds, Alexandra Potter. Alexander Bracken, not Potter. So I've got a Harry Potter book down there, and it's just thrown me. More Leah Bardugo, Shadow and Bone this time. Ketty Neal, A Mother's Sacrifice. Celeste Ng, I don't know how that's meant to be pronounced. Our Missing Hearts. L.J. Ross, Ryan's Christmas. Claire Douglas, The Sisters. 2, Paulo Coelho, Veronica Decides to Die. And The Alchemist. Followed by Janice Hallett's The Appeal. And then we've got 3 hardcovers to go with that as well. We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. The Silver Collar by Antonia Hodgson. And Blue Hour by Sarah Schmidt. So, a nice big bundle. If I had sold them all separately on eBay, I might have got £3-4 a book. Maybe a wee bit more for the Richard Osman, because it's still quite a new release. So, you know, that could have been, say, 20 times 3, £60 instead of a £25 sale. But from that, I would have had my postage to pay, my eBay fees to pay. And if I'm being honest, a lot of these have been listed on eBay previously for months, and they haven't sold. But within a couple of weeks of sticking, well, some of them within a day, some within a couple of weeks, sticking them on Vinted, and they have all sold. So I would much rather get that profit now rather than wait another year and a half to make £10 more and have all that shelf space taken up with what is quite a substantial bundle. They'll all go in a box. Postage is paid for by the buyer. Vinted is working very nicely, which means yesterday, or up till this point today on Vinted, what have we made? 25, 30, 40, 41, 42, about £44 coming back in from Vinted. Let's say I know there's cost of goods to come off of that, etc., but for the sake of comparing it to what the eBay profits have been, it's about £44. So that's quite nice every day from Vinted. If my eBay stays consistent and I have that on top, then that's pushing me up to quite a nice place to be on the old sales front. Right, let's have a look at eBay. Just seeing if anything new has come in, but it has not. So we can get cracked straight into it. And I just need to find the first couple of books, which are 2 Joe Nesbo paperbacks. I manoeuvre things around ever so slightly to get to them. We've got The Devil's Star and Cockroaches, Joe Nesbo, and they sold for £7.50 for the 2 of them. So if I'd sold them on Vinted, I would have maybe got £2, £2.50 for the 2. On eBay, I've got £7.50, but bearing in mind I've got a couple of quid in fees to come off of that, I've got £3 plus postage to come off of that, so I'm only making a couple of quid on them on eBay anyway. So it's like for like. There's not much difference in the profit when it's just the bread and butter books. Anywho, that's Joe Nesbo, £7.50. And next, a couple of decent sales next. We've got On Photographs by David Campney. I picked up a big pile of photography books a couple of weeks ago. Some of them are quite good value, some of them are not bad value, but it's a nice middle of the road. I mean, a £12 book, I'm not going to complain about that. That's obviously including postage. Where's it heading to? Alram. Yeah, so 12 quid. What did I actually make in that? 'Cause it went as promoted listing. I don't imagine it was a very high promoted rate I had in that. £9.58. So £3.50 in postage, plus the cost of goods type thing, which is going to leave me with about 6 quid back, which is, for listing stuff on eBay going forward, that's what I'm looking at. If something can make me £5 by listing it on eBay, as opposed to £1 or £2 by listing it on Vinted, then that's kind of where I'm aiming to go, and I'm changing things around to support that process going forward. Next is a bigger sale. It's that time of month where you do get a few big sales in for £76.50. A photographer's sketchbook. I've got sold listings and stuff for this one in Japan for like 300 quid, but not so much over here. So I just listed it at 85 and it went on offer at 76.50. Like I say, I've had it 2 or 3 weeks. It cost me the same as everything else. Actually, I maybe paid 50p for this. But, you know, that return coming on it, I'm going to take that every single time. So again, that's the type of thing I want to be selling on eBay going forward, and get the bread and butter. Not poor quality, but just the bread and butter moved on to Vinted, and see if we can get a bit more traction there on that one. The next, I'm not showing you because it's in a box downstairs, just waiting to get taped up and posted off. But it is 100 of these DVDs, 100 DVDs for £24.99. I've got, I mean, literally thousands and thousands of DVDs all stacked up, because I get them for nothing or for very, very, pennies a piece. So I just cram a box full with as many as I can. It's at least 100, probably about 120 goes into a box, and just a random mix of movies, whatever's there, and it goes for £24.99, which will cost me like £6-7 to post it, less the eBay fees. What do I actually make on these boxes? I've looked this up so many times, but I can never remember. So £21.84 coming back to me, so that's about 15 quid once I've paid the postage and the packaging costs as well. So 15 quid back to me for boxes that are made up and ready to go, essentially. I always give them a quick check to make sure there's no like Wii games or anything that have snuck in. But box goes out, costs me nothing to get them, so that's really just kind of £15 clean profit. The only hassle with that one is sometimes I cram so much in it goes over the 10 kilos, so it needs to go DPD instead of Royal Mail. But that's really the only issue I ever have with those. So yeah, a nice way of doing it. Next we have a single book for £3.50 plus £3.99 postage. This is a listing I haven't changed over to my new format yet. Seven Sisters by Lucinda Riley. So that's a nice little sale on its own. I'm getting a couple of quid on that one. And then another bundle for £26.99. What do I make on this? Because again, it's promoted listings and I never know what my promoted rate is on anything once I've done it. So I'm getting back £21.70. It's going to cost me £6 plus to post it. So again, about 15 quid coming back on a bundle of 7 books. And that's Il Giorgio R. Martini, Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, books 1 to 7. Well, it's actually books 1 to 5, but for the paperbacks, they split book 3 and 5 in 2 because they were absolute beasts. But I say £26.99, which is about £15 before cost of goods coming back to me, and 7 books what's that, a pound, £2, £1.75. So again, it's a nice wee profit on that stack there. I make up those sets whenever I can. There's a few different authors where it is worth piling them up until you have a complete set, because you will get better money for it. Or you'll get a quicker sale for it, I should say. So George R.R. Martin, Harry Potter, Robert Galbraith. It's just 3 that I've got sitting there that I'm making sets for. Harry Potter, George Martin. There's a few different editions as well, so you want to get matched editions. So if you can get a complete set, they're all the same edition, they're all in good condition, then you'll make quite a good wee profit on them. A wee bit more than you would selling them singly, and then you're not fighting with 5,000 other people who are all selling a copy of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. You know, you've got a complete set, which makes it stand out a little bit more. Try to think who are the other authors that work well with that. Suzanne Collins, The Hunger Games, does okay. Philip Pullman, Stieg Larsson. So anywhere where there's a complete series of any kind, although I appreciate George Martin is not complete yet, it's worth trying to collect them and turn it into a set. Up behind me there, it's probably just out of shot, I am 3 books away from the complete run of Lee Child in paperbacks, and I've started adding together the same for the hardcovers, and I'm also doing that for Mr. Bernard Cornwell. Might be able to just make that out there. His Uhtred series, I don't know what he called it, the Viking saga. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 of those in first edition so far. I'm just trying to get that complete set, and then I'll be able to sell that as a big bundle, which again makes much better money than just selling them off individually. And once the full set's there, it typically sells quite quickly, so they're worth doing that way. But anything where you do have an author that has a set of books, try and put the set together. Heather Morris, there's another one. The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and then Silka's Story, Three Sisters Under the Rising Sun? 3 Sisters and then Sisters Under the Rising Sun. So that's another B4 set that does quite well if you can find them and put them all together. We've got another single book. This time it is James Oswald. I think this is quite a new release. It went for £7.99. So again, I make a couple of quid on it. Not going to complain, but it's not really. I actually had that one listed on Vinted and eBay, and I was curious to see where it would sell first. And this time eBay won that race, so it's quite a new listing. It's a pretty new book. I would have made the same amount of money regardless of where I sold it, to be honest. So that was a bit of an experimental one. I'm not doing much in the way of the cross listing, because you just know that you're going to sell 2 things at the same time on the different platforms, and then you've got to, cancel an order somewhere, which I don't want to do. The next is quite a nice little sale. I've had these sitting for, I don't know how long, quite a while. And they have finally sold for £53.99. So it's 5 Roald Dahl hardcovers. We've got Matilda, the BFG, and you see both of those quite often. They're not uncommon, but the ones that I don't get as often are Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, and Danny, Champion of the World. Now, I can't remember if these are like firsts of these editions. No, they're early editions of this hardcover set that came out, but 50 quid for that lot, which means I have made, after fees, £44.39. Excuse me. So they've cost me £1.25 to pick them up. So that's after the postage. I think they're just over 2 kilos. I can't remember if they were just under or just over, but they were around about that mark. So taking even a whole tenner off of that, £34 profit for 5 books that I paid next to nothing for. But I've had to wait quite some time for those to sell. They have been listed since probably last quarter of last year, but still a nice little sale, which takes us to another nice little sale. Now, I'm a wee bit disappointed this one's sold, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I was wanting to keep this for myself, and I kept swithering about whether should I just unlist it and keep it. And I thought, no, I'll leave it on. I had priced it up. I thought, right, if I'm going to sell it, that's what I want to get for it. And I did. I got $29.99 for Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth. It's the US edition, hardcover obviously, and it's first edition, first print of that book. So it's a nice collectible book from 1989. God, these things are old, aren't they? Books do last very, very well. It's in good condition. See, you can get the wee foil a bit on the front. And let's say I would have quite happily kept that because it's a book I plan on reading this year. I do have a copy of it in paperback, which is what I will go to now, but I quite fancied keeping that one on the shelf because it is a nice collectible book. But for 30 quid, I'm going to take that. I can't not take that. It's, again, that'll have cost me. Actually, I might have paid £1 for that. I don't know. I might have paid £1. But still, once I've paid the postage and the packaging, etc., it's a cracking return on that one book. A DVD next. Well, it's actually a Marks and Spencer's DVD and book collection set. What's it? Spitfire. Birth of a Legend. So, Birth of a Legend and The Battle of Britain on 2 DVDs, plus the wonderfully illustrative book of something or other. £8.09. Again, not a crazy big sale. Once I've paid the VAT on that one, it's the equivalent of like a £6-7 sale. So, you know, a couple of quid back on it. Again, I probably got that for nothing. I don't imagine I would have actually gone out and bought that as such. But it's been listed for a wee while, and it's sold. It might have been listed for 6 months, which would mean I've got another like 36 pence to come off of that and all the listing fees I'll have paid to keep that going, which is another reason why I'm wanting to get all of that bread and butter stuff over to Vinted. If it sits on eBay for 10 months, it costs me an extra 60 pence per listing for each of those books. And if I'm only making £1, it's practically gone. Suddenly I'm putting in all that effort for 40 pence, which really takes it below being worth the effort. So, you know, those low value ones, I do want to get them all shifted. Those low value single book listings, I should say, I want to get them shifted over, which is not how I would classify this next lot, which is 5 Ian Rankin books. These are pretty low value, bog standard, bread and butter books, but I've got a big multi-listing for Ian Rankin, so it's not costing me 6 pence a month for each of these books. It costs me 6 pence a month for the 50, 60, 70 books that I've got listed in that multi-listing, which makes it more cost effective from that point of view. And then for the 5 books, 15 quid. So that's selling them that way. I'm quite happy to do so, as long as those listings keep selling. I have a few authors that I've got bundled up like that sell so infrequently that I am going to try taking them down and moving them over and putting them up just as single items and see if they sell over on Vinted that way. There's no point just taking up shelf space. I could sit and wait and make more money on eBay, but it's, again, I might have to wait a year to make an extra couple of pounds, so I might as well just get it shifted, clear up the shelf space, and get more stuff crammed into its place, because I can pick up a lot of books, but I can only store so many, and I'm kind of at tipping point at the moment because I've continued to pick stuff up over the last couple of months, even though sales have absolutely hit rock bottom. So I've got a lot less available space than I did have, and I need to get that circulating again, get a lot of stuff shifted so that I can, you know, concentrate on picking up even more good stock that will hopefully keep selling as time goes on. And that's our orders for the day. I did have an offer came in, something I've had listed for about £85, which I think it was actually a fair price, and it had gone out on a 10% off offer. You know, so somebody was watching it, the auto offers are on to say, right, here you can have it at 10% off, and they came back and counter offered with 50 quid. I thought, no, I'm not taking that. That's too much. I could list the books in it separately and get much more than that and make much more profit. But I had just put them on as a bundle for convenience and to see if anybody wanted to get a bit of a bargain. So I've countered with 60. I'd take 60, but we'll see if they come back and snap them up at that price or not. I find usually not. People, if somebody counter offers with a low ball, it's not that low ball, but if somebody counter offers with an offer and then I go back, typically I never hear from that one again. Although sometimes I just accept it because I think people are being cheeky and then suddenly they have to pay for it. Well, that's the way it's set up to take auto payments. Anyway, like I say, those are all of today's orders, which I now need to get packed up and ready to drop off. The big bundles are a bit more of a hassle to pack up, but packing up, what did I say that was? Was it 17 or 19 books, whatever it was? Packing them all up individually would take a lot longer than packing them up in a bundle and sticking them in a wee box. So although it takes a wee bit longer to put them in a box, which at the time feels like, oh, this is taking longer to do, it isn't really, because if they were all separates, it would be a completely different story altogether. So I've got a couple of biggish bundles to do that with today. Obviously the box of DVDs, so that'll take a bit longer, but before you list anything, know how you would pack it. So I've got boxes that I can stick 20 books in, that I can stick 50 books in. I've got boxes that I can put 100 plus DVDs in, and I just pick them up as and when I can. I don't pay for them. I get all of these things just when they're available in various different shops. And that is enough to keep that going. If suddenly I was selling 10 orders a day where I needed a box, I would probably have to go out and start sourcing some a bit more proactively to make sure that I did have the right ones that's needed. But at the moment, it's all good, and everything else gets wrapped up in bubble wrap and goes in a jiffy bag and gets posted off that way. So yeah, yesterday was a wee bit better. Total eBay sales for yesterday were, let's see if I can quickly work this out, 10, 20, 100, 125, 130, 155, 165, 215, 235, 240, £245 approximately in sales on eBay. Typically half of that is after fees profit, so probably about 120 quid, 130 maybe coming back in off of that lot. So more money than I made on Vinted, but again, compared to the amount of effort that's going in building that eBay store with the thousands and thousands of listings that are on there, compared to the 300 listings I currently have on Vinted, it suggests that there's a lot more value on Vinted than eBay at the moment. And I think a lot of people agree that eBay is becoming a harder and harder platform to sell on, and a more expensive platform to sell on. So if you're having to pay through the nose to get your promoted listings, to list things, to do all of these things, then you would expect it to be a pretty premium, good sell-through type of site. If you're selling absolute crap, then it's not going to sell wherever you are. But having seen that stuff sells better on a different platform shows that you do have stuff that people want to buy. It's priced roughly the same on both platforms. On one, I need to charge for the postage because I've got to pay for that, etc. On the other one, obviously buyers can get that themselves, so it can work out a little bit cheaper. But there's not a huge difference price-wise between the two platforms. And with eBay being the global mega superstar, you would expect it still to have an awful lot more traction, but that's just not the case at the moment. So we'll keep changing up the game and try and get as many books sold as possible. Let's say 240 yesterday, compared to the last couple of months, I mean, honestly, since mid-November. December had a couple of good weeks in that build up to Christmas, but not spectacular weeks, just good weeks. But since before the middle of November, it's been dire, and 240 is only a wee bit above what my average was for last year. So it'd be good to get back to that and keep these things bumping through. Having said that, a couple of big sales in amongst that lot that really pushed up the overall value. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3 orders for about £160 worth of that. So if it wasn't for those 3 big orders, it would have been another sub £100 day, which is dire and we cannot survive on at all. Anyway, I feel like I'm just talking in circles now. I'm going to get this lot packed up, drop some of it off. I've got another pile of 100 books to get onto Vinted. I've got a couple of things still to put up on eBay that I didn't get done with yesterday. Yesterday I picked up a really nice copy of The Shining from, I think, 77. Lovely vintage, really good condition. So not worth a huge amount of money, but still very nice. So I've got some bits and pieces like that to get listed on eBay, but not an awful lot, if I'm being perfectly honest. Most of the focus today will be getting at least another 100 books up onto Vinted, and then continuing that through the week. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for joining me as ever. If you've watched this far, if you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you've not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Drop us a comment. You know, how's your sales going yourself, if that's what you do. And I shall see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.